Right, so the Madlanga Commission has entered its third day of proceedings with testimonies and submissions continuing before the inquiry. Now, the Commission is expected to hear further evidence on key allegations as it works to establish the facts and accountability surrounding the matter. Now, KwaZulu-Natal Police Commissioner Lieutenant Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi is expected to focus on Police Minister Senzo Mchunu's alleged associate, Brown Mogotsi. Now, the SABC news anchor Ayanda, Nyathi, as you heard a bit earlier on, and reporter Canny Maphanga are there for us this hour. So a very good morning to you, Ayanda. You know, yesterday we heard that Vusmuzi Madlanga is one fellow that has been enjoying privileges from law enforcement, and that's according to the KZN Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. I'm sure we expected to hear more on this front today.
Without a doubt, Mkhwanazi, that was just one of the several, I think, eye-raising moments from day two of Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi's testimony here at the Bridget Mabandla Justice College. It's all, of course, unfolding in Pretoria, where the stage, so to speak, is quite literally set. As you can see, there's a full media contingent of people here. The SABC News Channel also certainly watching the space quite closely as it's continued to unfold. And as you mentioned, Mkhwanazi, what we're expecting today is to hear a bit more about the nature of the so-called association that Brown Mogotsi has had with the Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. That was really contained in a lot of the testimony that actually came from, I beg your pardon, a lot from the media briefing, the remarks that came from Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi in that bombshell briefing that he gave on the 6th of July. And since then, he's really kind of tried to help us connect the dots about the ways in which the work of the SAPS has been frustrated, including, rather more specifically, how crime intelligence may have been compromised. He's made mention of two MPs so far. Both of them have been quite vocal about those remarks. And in fact, they've both also been on the SABC News Channel. One of them is Fidel Adams, who has been said to have received some kind of classified information. He has then come forward to say that the information wasn't given to him in the hand, but was slipped underneath his door, and he did what he thought ought to be done at that time, which was to report it to police. He has been asked about whether or not he is prepared to come to this commission of inquiry, and he says he's open to do exactly that, but has also had this sobering warning, if you like, to South Africans about what we're likely to hear her. Take a listen.
But let me tell you something. I don't think this country is ready for what's about to come out here. The South African police services is rotten from the head all the way down. We are appointing 29-year-old women as brigadiers. All her police experience was working for BMW. But we've got people stuck in their ranks for 30 years, honest policemen. We are buying cars, we are buying hotels, things we shouldn't be buying with taxpayers' money. And this is what I'm fighting. And you know what? In return, I'm getting, let's just say I'm taking flack from a police general who should know better.
All right, quite sobering as you heard there. And in fact, we are likely to hear a whole lot more given at least what has been said already in public and what is likely to come. Now, it's taken a lot to get to this point, and there is still so much anticipation about what is going to come out of this commission. Let's bring in very quickly, we were able to just grab him, Jeremy Michaels, who's the spokesperson for the inquiry. Great to see you, sir. Thanks for popping by.
Good morning. Thank you.
As I said, it's been so voluminous, the information that's come out so far. And I think a good job was done at the beginning to kind of just set the expectation about how this inquiry is going to be divided mainly into three parts. But just very quickly, let me just gauge your sense of how things have run so far. We have noted, by the way, that we've started on time. And I imagine that's one of the things you're hoping to keep up throughout this hearing.
I think from our very first public engagement, you may recall it was at 1600 hours on the 28th of July. We said we are starting at 4 p.m. and we were seated before that and started exactly on time. Justice Madlanga is very clear that that is how this commission is going to be run. And for this week, the last couple of days, certainly we as the Commission are very satisfied with the way that our first public hearing has unfolded. I think perhaps, given the skepticism of many people that we heard over the preceding weeks, I think it is clear now how much preparation went into preparing for Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi to take the stand. If we look at the way that the testimony is unfolding seamlessly and very clearly, the preparation has been thorough. Advocate Nhlanhla SC, who is leading Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi, had gone into quite a lot of detailed preparation over the last few weeks. And so I think it must be clear to the public that this commission is very, very serious about getting to the bottom of these allegations meticulously. And yes, of course, there have been a couple of logistical issues, few glitches here and there, but overall, I think we are extremely satisfied with the first few days. Today is day 3. We will start at 9:30 exactly, and let's see what's to come. Next week, there's a public holiday, Heritage Day, but the 4 days next week, we should be sitting every day with public hearings.
Sure. And of course, the wind is blowing as you and I are speaking. Suppose a bit of, metaphorically, we can speak to how, I suppose, it feels like some things may be blowing in other ways. But let me not get distracted by that. There has been a lot said about what can be shared in public and what can't be. And I imagine that's also kind of the delicate balancing act, even at this early stage, that the evidence leader has to strike. Are you concerned at all about what's come out so far? Has this been part of the plan, so to speak, keeping in mind that balancing act that I spoke about? Well,
at the outset, on day 1, when Justice Madlanga opened, he made it clear that if these allegations are true, that has been ventilated in the public domain, that will have very, very serious, grave implications for the rule of law and our constitutional democracy. And then you had Advocate Terry Mutau, SC, the chief evidence leader, giving the public a clear sense of how the Commission has approached or is approaching the testimony impartially, and the evidence must be tested. He also gave a clear timeline of what unfolded in the public domain over quite some time, over years actually, and particularly the latter part of 2024, and then of course everything that we've seen this year, culminating in Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi's media conference on the 6th of July. All of that happened in the public domain. What happens or what matters for the Commission in terms of evidence is what happens here at the hearings. And of course, there are 3 categories of hearings. It's these public hearings that are fully, completely open. Then, to protect witnesses, there's another category where witnesses will appear, but they won't be able to be identified visually. And only their voices will be heard, and that will be muffled. And then there is completely in-camera hearings, which is mostly to deal with classified information, state secrets. So the evidence will unfold over the next few weeks and months. And of course, we are very conscious of the deadlines that the President set, which is contained in the terms of reference. 3 months for an interim report, 6 months for a final report. And of course, we have to adjust for the delay because we had intended to start on the 1st of September. There were all those procurement issues. And again, to stress that it was critically important that those procurement processes be completed because of the information and the sensitivity of the information that we are dealing with. So, for example, your cybersecurity systems and so on needed to be in place before we could proceed. We kicked off this Wednesday, and so they will on the 17th. So there will have to be an adjustment for that in the timeline, and that is a discussion between Justice Madlanga, the Minister of Justice and Constitutional Development, Mamoloko Kubai, and indeed President Cyril Ramaphosa, of course, has the final say, because it is he who has established this commission in law. But also, I think it's very important for us to keep in mind that we don't know where the investigation is going to lead. And as you can see from the evidence as it's unfolding, individuals are being implicated, as you've said, and so on and so on. So we will have to watch this space, but we are treating it as urgent, and I think you can see that we are absolutely committed to making sure that we get this job done as soon as is practically possible.
And that's such an important way to phrase it, because I think we all, of course, know that there is so much ground to cover. And, the big question that lingers is whether or not the time frames actually make sense, practically speaking. But that's the time we have for now. I have no doubt we'll get many other opportunities to catch up with just, what it takes to make sure that all of this is flowing on time and in ways that doesn't compromise national security, amongst other things. So, Jeremy Michaels, once again, thanks very much indeed for that. The spokesperson for the Madlanga inquiry. We're watching the story from a number of vantage points. We seated just a stone throw away from the main auditorium where the testimony has been fleshed out over the past couple of days, and will certainly do so today as well. Canny Maphanga is inside that room for us. And Canny, I'm hoping you're able to hear us. Over the past few days, we've seen a number of members of the public gather there and have shared their views about what they're anticipating. How are things looking just ahead of day 3 starting officially?
Indeed. Good morning to you, Ayanda, once again, and to the viewers. I must say that the security deployed to the Madlanga Commission has always been tight, but as we enter day 3 of these very important hearings, and we're just minutes away from Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi getting back on the witness stand and shedding more information on these alleged efforts to frustrate the work of the criminal justice system in administering justice to South Africans, we do see that today, at the very least, security has been heightened for this appearance that we see him coming to this morning at 9:30 a.m. We don't know the official reason behind why we're seeing a bolstered security presence here in the main auditorium, but we suspect that it has to do with the information he will be delving into this morning, which is the allegations of political interference with respect to that hindrance towards the criminal justice system and giving effect to its duties. But before we get there, let's just give you a sense of the public gallery as you've requested, Ayanda. Usually throughout midday, we do see some members of the public enter into the public gallery to get a taste of some of these hearings. It's not quite the numbers that you would expect, Ayanda. This section of the auditorium can accommodate at least 300 members of the public, but we usually see only a few trickling in the morning. By lunchtime, when the evidence heats up, there's several other public members that join, but it doesn't get to full capacity as one would have expected when this Madlanga Commission first instituted its hearings on Wednesday. So this morning, as I stated, Ayanda, we are expecting allegations relating to political interference to be delved into by Mkhwanazi. We know he's going to mention Brown Mogotsi, a key figure with respect to the now suspended Police Minister Senzo Mchunu. We know yesterday he did start with the WhatsApp exchanges between the pair. He does go into detail that he understood this individual to be a close associate, allegedly, of the now suspended police minister. We've already seen the police minister first deny knowing this man, and then, of course, referring to him as a comrade. It could be semantics, or it could just be something that the commission needs to delve into further, because we see that Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi is very specific with the use of the term an associate, allegedly, of the now suspended police minister. He'll go into the evidence of political interference in the work of the criminal justice system, or rather the various states institutions, specifically law enforcement and of course the political killings task team and its work that it gave effect to, which later led to its disbandment in Gauteng when it moved into Gauteng, according to the Lieutenant General Mkhwanazi. We expect that this information he'll shed light on today will be quite explosive. And because we're now in the realm of him dropping names with respect to who could have allegedly participated in these efforts to frustrate the work of the PKTT and how embedded this alleged network of this organized crime syndicate is in the various states institutions that exist within our criminal justice system, we expect him to shed more light on that and name more names in terms of South Africa's political landscape. So we expect from 9:30 a.m. this morning, several more names will come out, more information will be spilled, and surely there'll be more questions for the now suspended police minister, that is Mr. Senzo Mchunu, to answer to with respect to very serious allegations that not only threaten the rule of law in the country, but our national security. Over to you in studio.
Well, absolutely, Kenny. Thanks very much indeed. We're watching that space very closely, given, of course, what's come out already and what's likely to also unfold. Now, it comes as no surprise that this particular inquiry has also caught the president's attention. He, of course, has established it. And in an exclusive interview with the SABC news channel just yesterday, he was asked of what he makes of what's unfolded so far. Part of his response, the president says he is committed to seeing through this particular inquiry and its recommendations. Take a listen.
It's a very, very important mission. It's a very important mandate, and it's really going to deal with a number of issues that have dogged our criminal justice system, particularly when it comes to the role of police and what has been happening there. So a lot of things will be unraveled, and we do tend to want to have transparency. And thereafter, when the judge gives me the report on a periodic basis, we will be able to examine that report and the recommendations that are made and act on them. So in many ways, the Madlanga Commission process is what I would call going to be quite transformative. It's going to lead to a number of changes so that the rule of law is properly consolidated in our country.
Yeah. President Cyril Ramaphosa speaking exclusively there to the SABC news channel. We're watching the space very closely. Day 3 is set to start at 9:30, and if the past 2 days are anything to go by, it'll do so at exactly that point. Nklo?
Well, certainly all eyes and ears on that. Ayanda, Nyathi there for us. Thanks so much for that.